It is January 20th, 2025, and at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, America actually allowed Donald Trump to be sworn in as this country's 47th president. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. Just a quick reminder, we will be live every weeknight. So that's Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, what a day, what a day. And I guess Hillary Clinton had one of the best responses. Well, let's say the second best response to this inauguration. And on the other side of this clip, I'll tell you what the first best response would have been. Check this clip out.
America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs.
Right? I mean, may as well laugh to keep from crying. Here's the best response to the inauguration. Don't fucking show up. Anyway. Yeah, it was quite a day. Lots to cover. Before we get to the rest of it, please take a second. Like and share this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're really starting to grow. Every little bit helps. And after you subscribe, click that bell and you will be assured to receive alerts every time a new video drops. If you're listening to us in podcast form, thank you. And just follow the show and give us a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Okay. After the swearing in and Donald's acceptance inaugural address, I guess you would call it, in the rotunda. So just let's mark this for the sake of history. The smallest inauguration in American history. Like you literally could have fit this thing in a bottle, like a ship in a bottle. It was that small. Actually, you know what? It reminds me of the movie Arthur, when Arthur riffs about how small the country his escort is from. But we can speculate about why he decided to hold it inside. We'll get to that later. But after that, former President Joseph Biden and former Vice President Kamala Harris left. They departed on their flights out of Washington, D.C. Perhaps of note, Kamala Harris's flight crew on the way back to California was all female. So that's sort of some nice symbolism, except for the fact that Kamala Harris is not our president. That would have been much, much better symbolism. As Biden and Harris departed, Donald addressed his supporters, and standing next to him were, I keep forgetting his name, J.D. Vance, now Vice President of the United States, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and Donald's third wife. He decided at this point to embarrass said spouse.
America, you're the only ones I hurt by that, but we had some beauties, didn't we, Melania? She said, sir. Calls me sir when she's angry. No, I'm only kidding. I better say I'm only kidding, or the press is going to pick that one up loud and clear. No, but she said, no, I think it would be terrible. Costume, and the wind is blowing like crazy, and with the hat that she's wearing, she almost blew away. We almost lost off her. She was being elevated off the ground. She almost blew away. Now,
Sorry, she's not the flying nun. And please stop trying to be funny. Yes, the reason the inauguration wasn't outside is because with that hat, Melania would have blown away. What a shame that would have been. That's actually not why the inauguration was held inside. But I want to talk about that hat for a second. That is a bespoke hat, special ordered from a milliner, no doubt. And I think that some differential calculus was involved in the creation of this hat because the brim was just wide enough to keep Donald from being able to touch Melania's face when he tried to kiss her. Not the most important thing to happen today, but maybe one of the last amusing things, because Donald never being able to help himself, never able ever to have any decency or honor, as sore a winner as he is a loser, decided to insult Hillary Clinton one more time.
Stayed there for the whole primary, and then we took on Hillary. She didn't look too happy today. We took on Hillary. A very nice person, but we took on Hillary and we defeated Hillary, and then we did much better the second time in 2020. You know, we got millions more votes. We got millions, like 10, 12 million more votes than we did the first time.
Yes, in 2020, he got millions more votes and he lost. So it really doesn't matter. By the way, in discussing Hillary and that election, he is obsessing about something that happened 8 years ago. And for those keeping track, in 2016, Hillary Clinton got twice as many popular votes as Donald did over Kamala Harris this year. Okay, not a mandate. So he wins and doesn't get a mandate, and Hillary Clinton wins and doesn't get the presidency. So just another quick thing, though. If you, this is my opinion, are foolish enough to show up to the inauguration, that's how you're going to get treated. And by the way, he refers to Hillary Clinton as a nice person. He spent years riling crowds up in chants of lock her up. So see where that got us. The other thing of note, Donald revealed yet another lie he told to the American people during the 2024 election. He finally admitted that he's not bringing the price of anything down, and he told the American people, maybe don't get your hopes up against the price of eggs.
A lot of you are here because of that. I made it my number one issue. They all said inflation was the number one issue. I said I disagree. I think people coming into our country from prisons and from mental institutions is a bigger issue for the people that I know. And I made it my number one. I talked about inflation too, but you know, how many times can you say that an apple has doubled in cost?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of voters picked the economy as their number one issue, or at least Republican voters. And if inflation was also, inflation obviously has an impact on the rest of the economy, has an impact on prices. If inflation was one of their number one issues, then that doesn't have anything to do with immigration. Unless, of course, Donald carries out his draconian immigration laws and deports 20 million undocumented workers, in which case, if you have a problem with inflation, well, it is going to go through the roof. So he has no intention of carrying out any of his useless, worthless promises. And of course, we should have known that. But unfortunately, a lot of us weren't informed properly by sources that should have been informing them. Donald also discussed California voter laws, which seems an odd thing to do during an inaugural, why can't I say that word? Inaugural address. He actually said that he's going to ask the speaker to get involved because he thinks that he would have won the state of California. Yes, of course. This after years of attacking their governor, during COVID, during the Paradise, California wildfires in 2017, during the most horrific natural disaster in California history that's not an earthquake, the most recent wildfires in Los Angeles County. Yes, that's a good way to sway Republican voters over to your side, Donald. California is the bluest state in the country. There is literally no way a Republican, no matter who it is, would win the state of California. So it is not entirely clear to me why Donald is wasting his time today, of all days, speculating about that, but it just shows you that it is never enough for him, ever. And that should worry us. He also, of course, continued to go on and on about how the 2020 election was stolen from him. And one of the reasons we're here today is because he and his fellow Republicans refused back then to accept the results of a free and fair election. In the process of doing that, they undermined the confidence of many of the American people in our ability as a country to hold free and fair elections. It was, of course, before the insurrection and after COVID, one of the most destructive acts of anybody in American government. So finally, Donald got down to brass tacks and told us what was really bothering him.
A lot of you are here because of that. I made it my number one issue. They all said inflation was the number one issue. I said I disagree. I think people coming into our country from prisons and from mental institutions is a bigger issue for the people that I know. And I made it my number one. I talked about inflation.
So he just can't focus on the matter at hand. And we thankfully went from that inaugural address to the Oval Office. I have to listen. I want to take a second here. You know, I'm going to play clips, and we're going to catch up on other events that happened after he was sworn in and after he spoke. But let's just take a second and really let this sink in. What have we done? We are in a situation in which a man who does not believe in the American experiment, a man who has done more than anybody else in American history to end the American experiment. And you're going to say, wait a minute, what about the Civil War? Well, Robert E. Lee and the Confederates seceded from the Union. They were not trying to take us down from within. They declared their intentions, and we fought over that. For a while there, it looked like the North won, and now we're not so sure. But people like Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell are using the mechanisms of democracy while wielding power within that democracy to destroy it. So let's please keep sight of that as we go. As I've said before, and I will continue to say again, we need to figure out what to pay attention to, what to let go. There are certain things he's going to do that we should not let those engage us. We can't let certain things sink their teeth into us because they're not worth the effort. But we also need to be keeping track of all the ways in which he and his sycophants and his enablers erode the rule of law, erode our institutions, erode people's faith in those institutions, and continue to a degree that is absolutely unprecedented, and this is just in the last week, rob the U.S. Treasury. All right, so Donald got to go back to the Oval Office and sign some executive orders. Most of them were, cabinet position stuff, nothing, just administrative, bureaucratic things. And then the last executive order he signed kind of sums it up in a way. Check out this clip.
Lastly, we have a proclamation ordering that on all future inauguration days, including this inauguration day, that flags shall be flown at full mast. Very important.
That was a beautiful place to have an inauguration tonight. The sound was so good. The temperature was 72 degrees. But the sound was so good. Maybe something to think about.
Yes, yes. The desiccated old man had to sign an executive order to make sure that the flags are held at flown at full staff on Inauguration Day. I'm hoping that doesn't mean he's going to run again in 4 years, although I'm a little worried about that. But we've got plenty of time to prepare. But just in case you're wondering, Jimmy Carter died recently, and there was a proclamation, I believe it was signed by Dwight Eisenhower, that said that any president who dies, former president who dies, the flags will be flown at half staff for 30 days. We're within that 30-day period. And when Donald realized flags were going to be flown at half staff for his inauguration, he flipped out. So now we have an executive order. And of course, today, when they tried to raise the flags to full staff in DC, they were frozen because it's really cold. But that is not why the inauguration was held inside. So I just want to point, I find it a little surprising that some of the people there, it was Chuck Schumer, Amy Klobuchar, I'm not sure why, and Hakeem Jeffries. I assume that there's a technical reason. Well, I shouldn't assume anything because a lot of Democrats, to their great shame, showed up today. But I'd like to assume that they had to be there. So I guess I would say that if they did, they should not have interacted with this fascist. Like I think we need to start taking this much more seriously. Do not engage. Do not humor him. Do not give him an inch. Like, he's going to take it all anyway. Why should we make it easier? And we should do everything in our power to prevent his taking any more than he already has. One reason for that, I'm going to share with you. As you know, Elon Musk spent $250 million of his vast fortune, which has increased by over $200 billion since the election. He essentially helped Donald buy the presidency. He is now in Donald's inner circle. Donald owes him big time. I think there are ways in which you could say that Musk is more powerful than Donald because he is unbound in a way that even Donald isn't. And don't get me wrong, Donald is going to trample all over everything to the extent that he can. But, Musk is dabbling in the political processes and the politics of Great Britain and Germany. And he has been acting as a sort of shadow president since the election. And J.D. Vance, alleged vice president, has kind of been nowhere to be seen. There are occasions in which you would expect Donald's running mate, or vice president now, to be with him, and instead it has been Musk. So as Donald was busy remembering how to spell his name, Musk took to the stage at the Capital One Arena. I guess they were holding yet another rally because, other than Nancy Mace, not other than actually, I think Nancy Mace is a close second, but Donald is the thirstiest person on the planet. Musk took to the stage to thank it sounded like he was thanking his supporters, but he is not. Nobody voted for him. And this is what happened.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you.
Yeah, that is not how you do that. That, for those of you keeping track at home, that is a Nazi salute. And when Nazis did that, they said, Sieg Heil, or they said, Heil Hitler. And we know that Musk intended for that to happen because in that same in those same introductory remarks, he walked around the stage and he did it again. Now, because nobody can give us an innocent explanation for why Musk, who has so much power in his own right and who has so much influence in the incoming administration, did such a thing, images of Kamala Harris have been going around to equate her making an innocent hand gesture with Elon Musk deliberately making a Nazi salute. You know, we use our hands like we all do, right? I'm from New York. I talk with my hands all the time. I have no doubt that if somebody looked through every single piece of footage, if you could find a clip that would have me making that gesture unintentionally, I defy anybody to tell me that what Musk did was unintentional. I mean, I know that he said, I give my heart to you, whatever. First of all, he doesn't have one. And secondly, that's not a thing you do. Anyway, listen, it's been a tough day. Sadly, it is not going to be the last tough day. But, you know, as we've been discussing, you know, there are a couple of approaches we need to take to what's happening. First of all, by doing these kinds of videos and having these kinds of discussions, we know what we're up against. We know that this administration embraces people like Elon Musk, embraces fascism, embraces corruption to a degree that is kind of unimaginable, does not care. Like, they don't even care about their own people. You know, obviously there were many Donald supporters, people who voted for him, people who campaigned for him, who traveled from hundreds and thousands of miles away to attend his inauguration, to show their loyalty. And not only did he cancel the outdoor ceremony so nobody could attend, I think there were maybe a 700-person capacity in the Capitol Rotunda. He had them take down the Jumbotron so people couldn't even watch it. So we're forewarned. And again, we need to be really careful about how we engage and what we give our energy to, right? I am really interested to know what you guys are thinking and feeling today. Because, you know, we're going to have to do this together, right? And let's figure it out. All right, from Hermelinda. Does the guy even like Melania? I mean, I think the more accurate question is, does Melania like him? And the answer is no. I mean, look, Donald's like 79 years old. I don't know. But I think it's obvious that they renegotiated her post-nup because she's been around. Well, why? Why? Well, one, she got what I guess in her circles is a nice hat. And two, as you may know, Jeff Bezos just gave her $40 million for a documentary about her so-called life that nobody is going to watch. So it's working out quite nicely for her. Also, they just released a crypto coin or whatever. I don't know if she made any money, but Donald made $25 billion off of his. From James, question: who gives a fuck about changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico or changing the name of who cares? How does that serve me? How does that do any good for the American people? It doesn't. It's stupid. Yeah, I agree with you. But it's not only who cares about it, but in what universe does he think he can do that? Like, those are international waters. Like, I think the US, any country, but I think there's I don't know if it's 2 miles or 10 miles or 12 miles, but beyond that, those are international waters. They don't belong to anybody. So it is, listen, this is exactly the kind of thing that we need to let go. It's stupid. It's insulting. Just as changing, okay, Obama changed the name of Mount McKinley to Mount Denali to honor the indigenous peoples. Whether McKinley was a good president or not, I have no idea. But, the idea that Donald is like changing the name back, I mean, again, it's insulting, but oh well, are we surprised that he does not respect the indigenous populations of this country? It should not. So I think we need to be prepared for more of this. Under Biden, a lot of army bases were renamed because a lot of army bases had been named for Confederate soldiers, which is insane. It's literally like naming an army base after Hitler or Goebbels or Goering, right? Confederate soldiers or generals were our enemies. Donald is going to change all of those names back. We cannot let that bother us, because there's literally nothing we can do about it right now. Let's make sure there's something that we can do about it in the future. From Marianne, Donald didn't swear on the Bible she was holding. That's right. For all of those white evangelicals who think that Donald is the second coming of whatever, and Franklin Graham clearly thinks that Donald is the latest iteration of Moses, your savior did not even bother to put his hand on the Bible when he was taking the oath of office. I don't care. I also don't understand why it's the Bible and not the Constitution. But you should care. You pretend to care about those sorts of things, don't you? From Jude Maris, question: Melania forgot to invite her flash mob to the inauguration. What's with the zoot suit? I don't know, man. Was it a zoot suit? We had a poll. We did live post inauguration analysis, and we had a poll because I do think that was her hat was one of the most important things to happen today. And some people said she looked like the Hamburglar. Some people said she looked like the Pizza Hut logo. Sorry. And some people said she looked like Zorro. I'm like, no way. She is not cool. Zorro's cool. So I'm not even putting Zorro in the poll. I think she looked like the Pizza Hut logo. Man, I lost in a landslide, and I can admit it. Take a note, Donald. 82% blew my mind. 82% of people thought she looked like Hamburglar. You judge. Go check it out. Anyway, she looked ridiculous. But again, the whole point was to have a hat with the brim wide enough to keep Donald from getting anywhere near her. From Ferry, Donald does not have the power or authority to change the Gulf of Mexico because it's international waters. Yes, exactly. Again, why we should just not engage, and two, why the rest of the country thinks that we've lost our collective minds. From Stephanie, love this comment. Thank you for the voice. She says, thank you, Mary, for the voice change on the clown. It's perfect. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for appreciating it. It was not my idea, so I can't take any credit. I think it was Mercedes' idea, so thank Mercedes, everybody. And yeah, it does help. It does help. It doesn't really help me, but I know it helps everybody else. So we are going to continue to do that. And sometimes if we're a little bit late, it's literally because of that. Because we want to make sure we're not traumatizing anybody more than you're already traumatized. From Shameless Hussy. Oh, wow, it's really late. Sorry, time's flying. This is going to be the last one, unfortunately, because this was great. But from Shameless Hussy, Mary, question. Mary, do you think the reason Donald refused to put his hand on the Bible when being sworn in was because it would burst into flames? Well, sadly, we have experience in the past that when he touches Bibles, they don't burst into flames. It did in his first inauguration, and it didn't when he did that obscene photo op in front of St. John's Church in DC, when after he like ordered people to fire rubber bullets and throw smoke grenades into peaceful protesters. Remember, he stood out there and he held the Bible upside down. I have my own theory about what it means that the Bible doesn't catch on fire, but I'll leave that for another time, perhaps. I think that the reason he doesn't swear on the Constitution is because he has no respect for it. I mean, he doesn't have respect for anything like the Bible either. And also, like, he's torn up the Constitution anyway, so why bother? Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. Again, tough day. Definitely a tough day, but always better to share with you. And we're gonna keep at it. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we so appreciate your being here with us. So thanks to our awesome moderators on a very difficult day. I bet the trolls were having a field day. Thanks to all of our donators and super stickers. You guys rock. You keep the lights on. And thanks, of course, Mercedes and Lexi and Malone. This was a very, very busy day, and they all did some massive heavy lifting. So we should all be grateful for that. We will be here. The Nerds and I will be here tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern. And again, Mary Trump Live every weeknight, 6 p.m. Eastern. This is not going to be slowing down anytime soon. So thanks, guys, for everything. And in the meantime, please, especially on days like today, stay safe and be kind. Bye.